never get through everything we have
Oh,
tonight.
and let's remind people, next week, we will not have a TV
It's
show.
right there, right
Yep.
there, my notes.
Next
No
week,
meeting on July 6th. AOC chose to show the International Festival over us.
now,
I can't believe that.
I will have my Elise meeting on 7/7, which is
And you
next
remember
Thursday.
that? 7/7.
That's the first Thursday. That's my regular
We're going
meeting.
to the casino? 7/7?
No.
7?
Now, but I will have my regular meeting. We're gonna talk about all sorts of interesting things that have been going on.
It's been quiet. Nothing's been going on. See Orlando,
And Orlando,
stupid Republican putting in a anti-gun bill.
yeah, they've all been slapped down.
And then,
Sit in by morons.
tonight, we're gonna have some fun. Jim has, very dangerous, has the line-by-line budget of the state of Louisiana.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Plus,
Now we know where all the pork is.
plus the side-by-side comparison.
Last year to this year, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's really fun. Let's say our prayer for our children, to fight for the children of Louisiana. Because we're really gonna need that. Dumbbell Edwards, oh, I'm not supposed to say that anymore, right?
Well, you know, it wasn't exactly you that coined it, it was me, so it was okay. You were
It's okay.
honest.
It's all right.
Yeah, you were
Okay.
honest.
I
I'm the one-
was honest. I said I didn't start it.
I
My
did.
partner did.
I did. Good friend of mine mentioned that at lunch several months ago, and I just asked him if I could borrow it, and it
It
stuck.
just kind of fell in place. A lot of people at the same time.
Well, hey, it fits.
By the way, just before we say the prayer, because that's why we need to say the prayer for the children, Dumbbell Edwards was chosen as one of 80 people. We're not local anymore with the education. Now we have a regional committee that meets in Atlanta of 80 politicians and educators. I feel very slighted that they didn't ask me to be on that committee.
John White probably put your poster out and warned him.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't have my resume.
Oh, yeah, he's got wanted posters out for you. See this
You
guy
know what?
run?
And we're trying to just get back in the groove here, but you know what? There were actually 2 job openings, and the girls were pushing me to put in my application. Now, I would have liked to seen John White's face when he sees Jim Crumley.
Jim, you should have done it just for fun.
I thought about it, but
Make
then
him-
what happens if you get the job?
He'd have been pushing down Prevacid tablets like they were breath mints.
You know what? It was one of those underpaid jobs.
Well, hey,
It was only 6 figures.
oh God,
Only.
you wouldn't know what to do with that.
No, I'd do with all that money.
Go.
But anyways, let's bow our heads and pray. Prayer for you as you fight for the children of Louisiana, written by a very good friend of mine, Sarah Wood, whose children say this every morning from memory, which I haven't accomplished yet. Passion of Christ strengthens me. Strengthen me under the pressure of temptation. Strengthen me when principle is at stake. Strengthen me to do your will, my God. Strengthen me in moments of suffering, in times of loneliness, and in periods of depression.
Keep going.
Strengthen me that I may never swerve from you, dear Christ, nor weaken through human respect, through a desire to be popular. Through a desire to be popular, through hope of social distinction. Strengthen me to accept my cross and carry it generously to the end. On the battlefield of life, stand by me that I may never prove a traitor in the ranks. Stand by me that I may not be dazzled by the glitter and glow of the enemy camp. Amen. Make no mistake, this is a spiritual battle for the free-thinking minds of our children. What will your part have been when all is said and done? Amen. Put them on hold.
No. I just went ahead and dropped the volume.
Go ahead, caller. We didn't want to interrupt the prayer.
Hey, hello, Brett, Mr. Jim. Yeah, this is Austin. I'm sorry I called in and interrupted the prayer.
You didn't interrupt it, we had just interrupted you.
Thank the good Lord, the name of Jesus, you are back and looking real good, both of y'all.
Oh,
I'm a few pounds lighter.
Mr. Jim did a fantastic job on the last program. I want to tell him that.
thank you, appreciate that.
And we sure are thankful that you are back. And y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you know
Wait,
AOC,
can I call him in Baton Rouge over there? First name Scum Bell Edwards.
Okay,
it's okay, you said it. I
okay,
already got in trouble with dumbbells, so
okay.
on a personal basis. All right, Austin,
Have a
thanks,
good one.
buddy.
I'll listen to the rest.
All right, thank you.
We'll see y'all at the next meeting.
Next week, Thursday.
Next week, Thursday, and the Patriots meeting is on the 14th. And we have the guy from the Patriot Guard coming, and maybe Julie Emerson. She said she'll try and make it. So, all right, Austin, thanks for calling, buddy.
Thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, because of an incident that happened the last time I was on the air, I need to explain how Brett and I look at receiving phone calls. If you call up here yelling and screaming and hollering, you're gonna get cut off. There is no sense to that.
You're gonna bring the Levin method out in me.
Yeah, I let him handle that. I had to handle it on my own the last time.
And we do have caller ID. So if you insist on calling and being stupid, we will insist on hitting the button and not answering your call. So,
Here's the deal, if you wanna call and say that we're, not telling the truth or whatever, we're willing to discuss that. We're not narrow-minded enough that we won't do that. But if you call up here yelling and screaming and getting ugly and doing all that stuff, we're not gonna put up with it. And you know what? We don't have to. Because this is our show.
mhm.
And we make the rules. And we're not arrogant. We just, the other thing I want to make clear to you, I have a stack of papers here. He has a stack of papers here. He has notes. I have notes. All of the stuff that we bring forth on this program has been researched. And if we happen to make a mistake, and you can verify that for us, we're big enough to say, okay, we made a mistake. But I will tell you that 99.9% of the time, we have researched whatever we bring forth on this program. But we will not tolerate people calling up and getting ugly. That's not why we're here. We're here to inform the public. But we're not here to be used and abused. So now that I'm done with that rant,
Shall we update everybody on Tom?
yeah, you
Yeah,
have
I've got, I got a text from Brother Bob and said that Tom was doing very well. He's actually responding to, commands now. He can lift his left leg, he can move his right foot, and the right side's the one that is primarily, affected. He can respond with thumbs up
That
when
was
asked a
awesome.
question if his
When I
brother
heard that was
just been
awesome.
there. And we had talked about on the show that it would take 6 to 8 weeks after Tom's surgery for the bones in the skull to fuse and get that electrical connection back. So right now, we're just about 6 to 8 weeks, 12 weeks out from that surgery. They've
Pretty close.
changed some medication for Tom, and lo and behold, he's starting to show improvement. So
We hope it continues.
yeah, everybody keep up your prayers.
You know
and-
what? I'd just like to be able to talk to him.
Mhm.
Sit down and talk to him.
Mhm.
That's all, I mean,
Don't
Huh?
know. We don't know yet. Bob didn't go into that much detail in the text. All he would say was his brother Dave had just been there, and when they asked Tom if brother Dave had been there, he would go 2 thumbs up in response. So that's pretty big progress. Pretty big.
Well, get into the meat of the subject. I think what we might do is start with this. What do you think?
Let it fly.
Get that out of the way.
Throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
I think that's what they did.
I don't even know if they did that. I think they just poured some things out on the floor and then picked up what was left and made a budget.
I had, Brett and I have held a pretty good rapport with Julie Emerson and I, if she would happen to be watching. I appreciated, we were on the phone for about 25 minutes the other day. And Tom and I have kind of kept in touch with her all year, some good, some bad. But Julie and I had a nice talk.
Well, it's nice for elected officials to actually be responsive to the constituents.
And I'll say this, and I can't speak for Brett, but I know for me, anytime I texted her during the session, she responded pretty much immediately.
She's also been responsive on Facebook.
Yes.
I've talked with her several times on Facebook, and she generally will come back, within at least a day. I mean, she'll come back with a message. So she's been pretty responsive, and to say that's what we need from public officials is that they are responsive to their constituents and aware of what their platforms were. And Julie said that to you, that she is trying to live up to her campaign platform. And basically for Jim and I, we supported her in her efforts because her conservative roots were her platform.
Yeah, and
That's the basics.
it was really a very good conversation in the fact we talked about a whole lot of things. But one of the things that she said to me was, she gave me an example, and I'm not going to mention the individual. He got caught up in them coming and saying, hey, you got to do this and this.
Oh, the pressure from the establishment,
The establishment.
and that's the problem.
And this is how you learn. This is her first year. And in the conversation, she said he was voting everything they wanted. And then when the actual session started, they kept coming. And she told him, she said, look, I told you beforehand, don't do that. Because they're going to expect you to vote their way every time.
They'll bully you.
So he was on the Ways and Means Committee, one of the most powerful things. And every time they came in with a tax raise, he deferred it. He wanted to defer it.
Good for him.
And he changed. And in the second session, she said he voted against everything. And I've been at this 7 years, basically 5 years at the Capitol. And I pretty much know how the system works, because I've heard it from different ones. And this is a young person, Julie's, and they're young people, and she admitted it, it's her first year, and the learning curve is unbelievable.
They call politics a blood sport for a reason.
But she said she didn't give in. She said because basically said she got calls from people in her area, responsible high up in political positions in her area, saying, well, if you don't, and this is what they put up with, and this is a good thing, I think, to tell the people. This is what these people put up with. Not only with the crap over in Baton Rouge. Oh, I didn't say that, did I?
That's fine.
Oh, that's okay. Crap is okay, right?
Sure.
Right, Hartwell? Not the other word. But they get calls from hierarchy back in their area. Telling her, well, you should go along with the governor and da-da-da-da-da. This girl ran on a conservative platform. And what she said to me was, she said, I told people I was going to be like this. And she said, I had to live up to that. I had to live up to what I told the people I was gonna be. And so I like to hear that. She also was very honest with me. She said, Jim, there are times when I'm gonna vote on something and you're not gonna like it. And I said, fine. I said, I understand all that,
But the big thing, Jim, that politicians need to understand, we, the conservative people, elected her to represent what we want, not what she wants. She is there, and the technical term of her position is representative. And that
Yeah.
means she is there to represent for us conservatives.
And her comments were, and I'm sharing them, maybe I shouldn't, but her comments more that she can be more aggressive in the next 2 years.
Well, like you said, it's a learning curve, and it's a maturing and a confidence curve, because you have to learn how to deal with the pressures up there, because, I mean, you get the same pressures in law enforcement. I mean,
She said there were nights where she was up almost all night, just
well, yeah,
trying to, get it together.
the feelings of an honest person.
Like Tom said, I would never make a good representative. And I asked him why, and he said, because you have morals. Yeah, I told Julie on the phone, the same thing I said to Tom, that if I got elected, I wouldn't have nobody to go to supper with.
You'd be eating your cereal by yourself.
I got a hold of a side-by-side comparison between this year's state budget and next year.
That's depressing. Oof.
Now, on the radio today, it changed from $2.6 billion. John Kennedy, I was listening to John
Right
Kennedy
on.
today.
Yeah, I heard him.
And he said it's over $3 billion. And what did he say? None of this had to happen.
Correct. None of it had to happen.
Explain to me. And I brought this up with Julie. Explain to me.
He said all of this was a result of people voting for all of this crap and wanting it because they're going along with dumbbell. None of this had to happen. None of it.
There's so much, we could spend the 2 hours talking about this, but we're not gonna. We're gonna hit the highlights. DHH, that's the Department of Health and Hospitals. Last year it was $9,359,795,000, and it's some odd change. This year, it's $11,745,289,964, an increase of $2,385,490, whatever.
Isn't that a $2 billion increase?
$2 billion
Right.
increase.
Now, Jim,
That's 25.5% increase.
tell him.
Here's the explanation.
Yeah, give him the reason why.
This is because of an executive order by Dumbbell Edwards.
And why was that executive order allowed to stand?
Because in my conversation actually with Julia, you get educated all the time.
Okay.
And she explained to me the power that the governor of Louisiana has.
A lot.
A lot more than other states. He had an executive order and went around to people on Medicaid. Okay, let's talk about Medicaid. I can't believe the advertiser actually did a halfway crappy job. Can you
Makes
believe
good toilet
that?
paper. Put it on the back of the
I
commode.
can't read all this, but here's the deal. Let's look at this. It's not gonna cost us any money this year. So why did we increase the DHH 2-point-something billion dollars? I'm a mathematical person, okay? Have you ever heard of the word front loading?
Oh, yeah. Pad the budget so it's big.
Pad the budget. What they're saying, is, and I had a friend of mine, and God bless him, he's a good guy, was going back and forth with me on Medicaid and the budget. He said my number for the budget was inflated. Actually, what?
It was a little bit light. It was a little
It
bit
was a
light.
little bit light.
Yeah,
I
John
told
Kennedy
him
put it out
2
there.
billion, I told him 2 billion, and it would, ended up being 3 billion.
Yeah.
But he made a comment, and I don't think he really caught himself when he made this comment, telling me about the reason that went up is that, how did he put that? That we had Medicaid and that we had to pay for Medicaid, but the federal government was gonna pay for it. And that's why we increased it.
Well, there's a
And
yes.
I didn't go back, I was really nice.
That's when you say yes, but. And what happens next year when they lock us into this spending and their federal part of the payment goes down and the Louisiana goes up every year and we're stuck with that
In
program.
5 years, this state will be totally bankrupt because of Medicaid. Look, I'm not against people getting, but this whole article was about guys that were incarcerated coming out and not having medical insurance. Okay, I understand everybody needs to have medical insurance, but you want to know the funny part? You can get medical treatment if you
Yeah,
go
any-
to an emergency, any
Right.
emergency
Any
room.
emergency room will give
Or
you
walk-in-
medical care.
or
They can't turn
walk-in
you away.
clinic.
Right.
They can't refuse you. It's a law. So, when you look at why did they front load DHH? What I was gonna tell you about Medicaid. Okay, they say 90% will be paid this coming year, not, that starts on July 1st. 90% will be paid by the federal government, and we will pay 10%. So, let's just say the numbers I heard, that 350,000 people are gonna sign up for Medicaid. So, 10% to me gets into the billions, just the 10%. But here's the deal. Then in 2018,
It goes up.
no, this is how the government, federal government does things. They use a new formula. And that formula might say, okay, we're paying 75% this year, you're paying 25%.
And the numbers still go up with the population.
Okay?
So who's on the hook? You and me.
And the other thing I look at is silly stuff like, you know, we have 28 cases of tuberculosis.
Yes.
Where did that come from? Syrian refugees.
We have 7 states who have an overflow of tuberculosis. And by the way, tuberculosis, if people will remember back in the 40s and
That
the
is,
50s, used to cause people to be involuntarily committed to a tuberculosis sanitarium until they were TB free. I had an uncle who was forcibly picked up by the police who tested positive for TB and was forcibly locked in a hospital until he was actively cleared.
Yep.
Because TB is one of those things, it's extremely communicable. I mean, and now there are variations of TB out there that are very resistant to antibiotics. And what are the odds of these Syrians having those variations?
Yeah, there are now 21 refugees living in Louisiana who developed active tuberculosis.
Now, here goes the
after
rub.
arriving.
How good is the tracking on those people, and do they know where they are or where they've been?
Yeah, they know where they are.
See, there goes the rub, because they can be infecting
But
people.
you know what? They didn't tell you where they are
Correct.
in this article.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is there someone who's following them? Because remember our Syrian refugee who landed in Baton Rouge or New Orleans,
New
who
Orleans.
ended up God knows where, they still don't know where he's at. What if he has TB? They don't know where he's at.
So let's go back and look at Medicaid as one of the deals that was the increase. There's a lot of discussion. John Kennedy hit it, and I heard
Oh, he's a
other
great
people.
numbers guy.
And
He's
he-
got the numbers.
He, you know, I mean, I don't think him and Edwards get along.
See, folks, I've always liked John Kennedy for his numbers. In this Senate race, I prefer John Fleming because Fleming also has experience with foreign policy and with military issues that Kennedy has never dealt with. I think Kennedy is at his best in dealing with this type of stuff.
Exactly.
He's a numbers guy, and he's got the numbers.
Now here's another good one. The Department of Education was cut by 12%.
Okay? I'm not crying over that.
No,
They're top heavy as it is.
but here's another one. LSU Healthcare Services Division was cut by 20%.
Yeah, that's the big
We're putting
LSU
people on
hospitals,
Medicaid, and we're cutting the facilities
where they would go.
where they would go.
See, that right there tells you that there's a problem, because why would you cut out the hospital where the Medicaid people would go to get the service? So you make the service smaller, but spend more money for the person. That doesn't make sense.
Higher education got cut by about 7%.
Well, I have to say this about higher education. I agree with Moon Griffon. We have too many colleges in this state. We ought to have one college in the north, one here, central, and one in New Orleans, and that's it. Every city does not need a college.
Well, here's the thing I know about the colleges. There are 4, I think, major colleges in New Orleans.
Just New Orleans.
Just New Orleans. But here's the problem, and I'm not sure which college it is. One college is only graduating 8% of their students. And I will say this, Albert Gilry is the one that pointed that out to me and talked about that in his last year. You don't need a college like that operating in anywhere. If you're only graduating 8% of your students, and we're funding that,
But you know what the
my
big,
other big thing is, in talking about New Orleans, why are we funding a football team and a basketball team?
that has always been a point of contention. Why are we paying as consumers for the Superdome when Benson is a billionaire and owns the Saints, and yet we had to pay for the Superdome renovations? I've still never figured that out.
No,
But the other thing that I was getting at, Jim, as far as the colleges are, from your era to my era, not everyone went to college. Not
No.
everyone is suited to go to college. And back then, if you couldn't afford to go, you didn't go. You lived within your means. If you couldn't afford to go, then you went to trade school or you did something else.
I'm gonna talk about that. One of the very early, my involvement in Common Core was when Holly Bophy spoke in Abbeville.
That must have been a headache generator.
Oh, it was on, I was almost in tears.
Yeah, pop to a leaf where you walk in
Well,
there.
let's put it this way, when Holly walked in and saw me, her whole attitude changed. I have no clue
No.
why that would have happened.
Like a rock
But,
in her shoe, huh?
but here's what a guy brought up. When you go to these things, people wonder, why do you go to that meeting, Jim? You know? But in that meeting, and it was the early stages of fighting Common Core, in that meeting, this guy stood up and he said, 50% of the people in here are crawfish farmers, are farmers.
Mm-hmm.
He said, my dad was a farmer, my grandfather was a farmer.
Sure, family business.
He said, and my son, my 16-year-old son, is now learning the business. And he said, you're standing here saying we need Common Core so we can send everybody to college. And his quote was, as he said, not everybody wants to go to college.
Now it's further than that. Not everybody needs to go
Needs
to
to
college.
go to college.
Because I have another problem with this college stuff too. College athletics. And I know I'm going to say something that's going to aggravate a lot of people. But I'm sorry. We're putting out superstar elite athletes who have to lick their thumb and make their mark. They're one knee injury away from selling used cars, okay? And they got the same degree on the wall that my parents had to pay for me to get, but they get a free ride all because they can bounce a ball or throw a ball. The point of going to college was not athletics. The point of going to college was higher education.
But they tell you it's education. Now, one of the things that I will and that I know personally is that the LSU Athletic Foundation gives every year back to the education department $4 to $10 million.
Oh, of course.
You know, but what I'm saying is not every school does that. But the thing is,
But Jim, if you're gonna get on that road, then how much are the athletes by the last name of Fournette, how many millions of dollars was Fournette's mama paid for him to go to LSU? And I
Right.
happen to know he had 6 zeros after that number, and his mama made a bunch of money, and he's supposed to be an amateur athlete going to LSU. And where's that money coming from?
not the school.
Well, but that's just to say then, where's the education part coming in?
And I mean, stuff like that, I leave that alone because I don't have absolute credible
Oh, I do.
paperwork.
I spoke to someone who is very knowledgeable about the coaching
But-
staff
but
and how that
in
works.
my non-naive world, no doubt. But getting back to this comparison here, the budget, they all over Jindal. And please understand,
Which I always blame the last guy that was here.
well, that's
the
a
standard.
democratic mode, and I made that comment on Facebook. But here's the thing, I understand Jindal, and Julie told me something, he forwarded a bill into this year's budget that was supposed to be paid last year.
Oh, and-
And I understand,
And isn't the budget supposed to be balanced by law?
but here's the deal.
Yeah, right.
Here's the deal, that we increased the budget by $3 billion, and you're telling me I got a tax, $600 billion, we're $600 million short. But the budget increased $3 billion. Wait a minute,
Like John Kennedy said, none of this was necessary.
no.
None of this was
There's
necessary.
contracts, here, I'll show you one of the big line items that shows you how politics work,
Oh, I'm afraid.
okay? The Office of the Attorney General,
Okay.
okay? Not that Jeff Landry's been irritating. Okay? His budget was cut by $14,766,566,
Right, because he's
Or
not a
18.
dumbbell Edwards supporter.
at 18.3%. Interesting.
He went against the governor on several big major issues,
Yeah,
you know?
and I mean, there's stuff in here, oh boy, Fleming's all over these pages. A pal of ours in legislature put together a side-by-side comparison, which was, I can't find his name now. But the Department of Health and Hospitals budget is going up to $2.38 billion increase in 1 year. Meanwhile, LSU's medical school budget is taking a 20% cut. And Jeff Landry's budget is taking an 18% cut. Higher education is taking $178 million to fund $2.38 billion increase in health and hospitals. We've been told by our lobbyist connections that the word is out, the money is in lobbying contracts for hospitals because that new gold rush in Louisiana. Quite believable, of course, when DHH has a $12 billion budget, which is, of course, they can't operate all their functions with unless there's $600 million in tax increases. And it just gets better and better when you
Scare
read these
tactics.
articles. I mean, and that's what he did. And through Julie, she said he came down hard on a lot of people. And, this budget thing, I don't want to stay too much longer. I got something else. What I tried to do is give you just some of the insight stuff. why did the lieutenant governor's budget increase?
What does the
State
lieutenant,
treasurer's
but Jim,
increased.
what does the lieutenant governor need a budget for? That's tourism. That's all that is.
Well, that's to keep the parks and stuff going.
Well, they've been shutting down stuff.
I know.
They haven't been keeping it
I
open.
saw another truck stop. I was coming into Louisiana and I wanted to make a pit stop.
Mhm.
And I always depended on the first.
It's not there no more. No.
It's like
You come
out
off,
under, and I don't know what they're building there.
yeah, you come off the Sabine River Bridge and there's nothing there now.
I'm going like, okay.
Yeah, your eyes are swimming. You see waves, yellow waves.
And I said to the wife when we were just about out of Texas, oh, well, we'll take a little break at the rest area in Louisiana.
Except it ain't there.
Okay. The point is, this budget and all the crap you hear went up 3.3 or $3.3 billion roughly. Where's my, oh, there it is. Now the interesting part. Somehow, the advertiser actually did a good thing. They printed House Bill 2 passes, dedicates 1.4 billion in cash lines from the state. And now we start reading some of these. Iberia Parish Airport Authority, rehabilitation of a hangar, $1 million. Okay. South Louisiana Development Council, SLC Nichols Field. You know what that means? Field and drainage improvements, $3,000. Lafayette Central Park.
Uh-oh. The horse farm.
Tonight, I gave you that list of what I do with that. Well, I went to see who was involved with this, and George helped me with this. I mean, I printed this, but I called George and asked him some questions. But now, if I'm wrong, somebody call in and tell me I'm wrong. We were sold on the horse farm that no tax money outside of when they purchased it would be used at the horse farm.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I did after I saw this line item on this sheet. I found out last year, and let's coordinate this now. Who's our new parish president?
Joey. I know it's Robidoux.
Joe Robidoux. Well, last year, Joe Robidoux got $10 million for the Lafayette Central Park. And as one person said to me today, well, it just looks like a big grass field to me if they got 10 million last year.
Yeah, what did it go for?
Guess what they got this year? Lafayette Central Park improvements, $2 million. Okay, let's look at this. $12 million.
For what?
My problem is there's no accountability. But you know what? When I said that to Brett, he went, uh-oh. I'm going to find out about accountability.
Where's it going?
Guess what I have? I have a list of every person who is part of that nonprofit. And you can get that. You can go look it up under the Secretary of State. Okay? No tax dollars, no tax money.
Somebody lied.
Okay? Now here's another good one if I can find it. Lafayette Airport Commission.
Here we go.
Again, we paid, was it 7 months?
A
Or
tax.
6 months. 1 cent sales tax
Sure.
to build the new terminal,
It was
right?
voted, it was voted in.
And they were gonna get a grant from the federal government.
That's what was said.
Federal government. Don't give me stuff like this. Okay. Lafayette Airport Commission. Are we ready? Construction of a new passenger facility terminal at Lafayette Regional Airport, $5.3 million
Uh-oh,
from the state budget.
somebody lied.
Construction of cargo facilities, 4.9 million. And somebody said to me that this was just the money being paid back. And I said, no. LCG is the one that collected that 1 cent,
Mm-hmm,
not the state.
correct. It was local tax. Lafayette Parish only.
So you explained to me how my tax dollars are now being spent besides the 1 cent sales tax I paid. I got some serious questions about this stuff,
Accountability.
and I will ask that if anything goes wrong, bail money, you start pushing these people. I mean, here's another one. Now, whether this is just payment for this or not, Youngsville, you live in Youngsville, right, Tom?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. Anyways, Youngsville, improvements for Youngsville Sports Complex, which I accidentally saw when I was looking for something else in Youngsville. $971,200. Highway 92, a realignment, this expense I can see, $295,000. Youngsville Parkway Road Project, $320,000. But my question is, that's a beautiful looking complex.
What more do they have to do to it?
Is that money that they're getting, Tom, to pay for the complex?
My understanding was that they passed the sales tax to pay for that.
That's what I-
Oh,
well,
that's what
heard
I
too.
wanted to hear.
That's what I heard too.
Another sales tax, and now they're getting money from the state.
Double dipping.
I'm reading this stuff off, okay? Here's another good one, which in an explanation by an individual today made sense. North Lafayette Redevelopment Authority. Try finding that in the Secretary of State's thing. Not there. Not under that name anyways. Acquisition of blighted and abandoned properties for resale. $500,000.
And the state of Louisiana is paying to buy local blighted properties.
Now, here's how it was explained to me. This individual went on a tour with city officials, okay? And it may not be a bad thing. What I was explained to is that they buy the property, destroy the houses, level the houses, clean up the property, and then sell the property,
But Jim,
The land.
why should a taxpayer from New Orleans want to have to subsidize property over here in Lafayette that's being
I don't
blighted
know.
and
I'm
redone?
just telling you what I heard.
Yeah, that's
You
my
know.
point though.
But there's other things, when you read through this in the University of Louisiana in Lafayette, Fletcher Hall exterior repairs, $374,000. You go through this, South Louisiana Community College Lafayette campus, HVAC, what is that?
That's air conditioning program.
Wow, they must have some hellacious air conditioners. $1.8 million.
That's for their HVAC program.
It's for their HVAC replacement.
Now,
Abbeville Harbor and Terminal District, bulkheading and dredging at Port Vermilion, $1 million. St. Mary Parish, I don't see really anything there, mostly reconstruction. Broussard, a lot of highway stuff. Karen Crow, water, just, it's really intriguing. What I pointed out in Lafayette already, good Lord, that's how the budget went this year. What I'm saying is, we, the public, get lied to all the time. And I have a good ex-councilman friend of mine who I had a conversation with this week. and learned a lot of stuff. And the whole thing is, Tom says they passed the sales tax. They passed the tax here for the airport. They passed the tax for what else? You know, and what's coming? Now, not many people know that the Acadiana Patriots held a meeting with the school board administration at the library downtown. And I don't think they were really happy. And my comment is that all they think about is taxing.
Mm-hmm.
Look, they're the ones that let all this money go away all these years, the state included. There's nothing in here about cuts, corruption, or fraud.
Not a thing.
Not a thing. How much fraud is in Medicaid?
Ooh.
Huh? How much fraud is in Medicare? How much fraud is in supplemental
You want to know how much
insurance?
fraud there was? The guy that Bobby Jindal brought in to be the head of DHH had to be brought before a federal grand jury because of his fraudulent handling of payments and services.
People, I mean, I have fun doing this, believe it or not. I don't get stressed out about this, and I get to talk to a lot of people, you know. But what you gotta understand is there isn't one person, and this is an overall statement, that worries about the constituents. I mean, when you look at Washington DC, people like Bustani,
Mm-hmm.
he puts on a good show. He talks the talk and walks the walk.
Yeah, from about February on, he started voting like he was supposed to.
You have people like John McCain. I was just in Arizona, and I'm a veteran. I have no respect for John McCain whatsoever. And you sit down and talk, and I was fortunate enough to go to a very high-level meeting. While I was there, you talk to people about McCain out there. You should see the dirty warfare. Brett and I have been communicating with Kelly Ward. She's a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And the dirty warfare that McCain, this pack, is using on Kelly to keep this idiot in office.
And idiots being polite.
Well, that's all I can say on TV.
That's what I mean. He's being polite.
Right, Hartwell?
Right.
Hartwell keeps me in line most of the time. Folks, there was a thing on Facebook today, and I wish I'd have printed it to read it. I know you read it. That basically, and that came from Mary Cass, by the way, basically said that people aren't gonna wake up until it affects their daily deal.
Tom has said that for years. His favorite saying was, until your ox is personally gored, you don't care.
And I know we've spent the whole first hour on this budget, but there's a reason for that. You gotta understand, what you see in the paper is not always what's going on. And I know we got the Orlando thing, we got all kinds of stuff, we got, I mean, the 6 things here. Obama issues this nasty response to Benghazi investigation. John Bell Edwards
Dumbbell.
did another executive order.
Well, he's an Obamaite, so they rule by executive fiat.
And it has to do with changing, in the issue of an executive order, changing the industrial tax exemption program. Previously, the state government granted 100% property tax exemption on new buildings and equipment up to 10 years. All the business has to do was apply to the board. Now, there's a new application process. Do you understand? Raising taxes, going after business, small business. Okay, the oil field's already down. Look, I'm no economic expert, But if I was in Georgia and I wanted to move my business or expand my business, I sure as the heck am not, and I did it, Cartwell, I didn't say it.
Or better yet, Governor Rick Scott from Florida was over here showing people how good their tax structure is and recruiting businesses to go to Florida.
Exactly. We're not only gonna lose more jobs because of this, we're gonna lose businesses, which cause job loss, which cause what?
Taxes go.
Taxes go with it too. I mean, I had a friend of mine that I respect that's been testified in Washington called me and said, Jim, what did you Louisiana people do?
You know what?
And I said, what do you mean? She said, you elected a Democratic governor.
Yeah, but Jim, let me explain the logic. I have people who are actually dumb enough to tell me, well, we had a conservative Republican in there, and I told this person, I said, the only conservative Republican that was in the race was the guy you didn't vote for, David Vitter, who voted correctly every time we needed him to stand up and vote. I said, you morons and y'all's little knee-jerk reaction in your little protest vote went from a rhino Republican semi-liberal now to an Obamaite full tax and spend lying dumbbell liberal in one fell swoop. The whole rest of the South has Republican governors, and what? Oh, us dummies in Louisiana. Ooh, we gotta have us a West Point truther, Mr. Honor Code.
Honor code.
Yeah, we can see what his honor code is to do unto others before they do unto him.
I wonder what his commanding officers that were above him now think about his honor.
He
Should
probably
be stripped of every
he
medal he has.
probably rolled a grenade under them in the latrine and fragged them. You know.
I mean, and really that it was important to point out to you because the average person doesn't see this. I'll guarantee you that article in the Advertiser, 10% of the people that read the newspaper looked at half of that stuff. And the other 90%, I don't have time for that. But I sit here and I look at $2 million, then I find out 10 million last year. I got a real problem with the horse farm. I think it can be a great thing, but it's not supposed to be with taxpayer money. And what I found out, in adding to the thing, is that they put in the paper how the donations are coming in.
But Jim, I
Not true.
pass by that horse farm all the time. I haven't seen $12 million of anything. All I see is the grass is cut. There's
Yep.
not $12 million of anything in that horse farm.
No, it's in the planning. But my problem is, when you're given that much money, where is the accountability? I brought that to the attention of Julie, and she agreed. She said, there is no accountability system. Wow. I wish somebody'd send me a check for $2 million and I'd tell them I'm gonna do this over here and
Do whatever.
build a new house, pay off all my bills.
Live like Obama.
Oh yeah, I did. I dug a ditch the other day. Cost me $30. You know, and that's what's wrong in government today. There is no accountability, and they don't really care.
No,
And there's too many lobbyists.
they're the elitists.
There's big money that buys everything. Just like it bought the Bessie board,
Sure did.
buys everything. Baby, wake up.
I've got some stuff next hour about a guy that was a conservative Republican, bought and paid for it on the gun lobby issue.
Oh yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got
it
his
was
name and what he
a
did.
rip. Oh, and you know what John Bell Edwards did for the Republican people that helped him out? He put their names out.
He outed him.
He outed them. Oh my God.
Well, when you're a traitor, then nobody's loyal to you.
Hey, but he told us who helped him.
Well, now we know who to go after.